All right. All right. So the last class, we talked about SDLC. We talked about benefit of automation. Obviously, there is a huge benefit as long as we use the automation for the right purposes. If we abuse the automation, that's when the benefit goes away. Meaning, if we take more than what we can eat, right, that's when the problem happens. Meaning, same thing. If we can take test cases to automate and we're taking more than we can maintain, that's when all of the benefits of automation goes away. When you say time saving, if you have a significantly larger test suite and it's full of garbage, meaning the test case is full of garbage and it doesn't make sense. There is a repeated test case, there is duplication, and also the test cases not testing the right things, then time savings out of the window, right? Because now you're just going here and there within the application and you're not doing the right thing, but you're costing them 2 to 3 days just to say I'm done testing, right? Because it takes that much time. Same thing, cost effective. How is it going to be cost effective when your full automation team, the only thing they're doing is maintenance of existing automation, and they're not able to work on the new features, right? And existing automation is never healthy for some reason because it constantly needs that attention. Efficient is never efficient because again, you automated everything there is, and your test cases may not be as efficient as you want to be. And that will require a huge amount of effort to make them efficient. When I say efficient, that means if you're going through a page, right, you want to include all of the test case for that page and test it right there and then move on to the next page and so on, right? So you have to combine a lot of test cases in order to make it better and efficient. Easy execution, if you have a large suite, is really, really hard to execute. If you even execute parallel, you have to think about other external tools. But if you even execute parallel, is going to come up with a lot of test failures that's going to require for you to go through each and every single test case and manually investigate them. Each investigation may take 10 to 20 minutes or 30 minutes. Imagine you have 100 test case failure. That's just defeats the purpose of automation. All right, so these are some, we talked about the benefit. I'm talking about disadvantage of having test automation that may not be well thought out. You have a QA manager or you have a QA lead who probably had an idea to automate everything there is and without a aspect, without understanding, right? Maybe that QA lead or QA manager was never a automation tester, right? And it is possible to work for a QA manager who was never a automation tester. Your job is to also make sure that he understands where, what automation can be, what are the automated tests, the capability of automated tests, and what should be done in terms of best practices. And because he was never an automation tester, so he will just say automate everything. And that doesn't mean that you're gonna go ahead and do that. And I'm not against automating everything as long as you come up with a solution to maintain those test cases and be able to run it properly and be able to keep the test cases failure rate low, right? These are the 3 different thresholds you have to think about before you can automate everything. But most importantly, I haven't seen a company automating absolutely everything and saying, okay, we're 100% confident that we're good to go. We're still in manual testing. Manual testing is significant enough for many companies, all the companies out there, because that's where the bug gets discovered most. Automation finds bugs, but it's not, as much as manual. And it's because human, right? Human, they're testing one specific test case, but then their eyes on the other side, and they can catch more issues than automation needs, right? Automation is gonna look for a specific issue. If it finds it, it finds it. If it doesn't, then it will say pass, right? So just think about it. So in this case, anybody discouraged with automation that, oh no, I'll just do manual then? Anybody here discouraged by what has been said about automation, guys? Nobody, everybody is good. Okay. All right, that's the case, then we're good. But think about this way. Yes, if you do have slight discouragement, thinking like, oh, end of the day, manual testing is more important. Then why automation? No, automation is probably more important also, and and it depends the usage of automation. It depends for the company where they're using for that automation purposes. If they do health check of the application and quickly 10 minutes later you can tell them like, hey, the deployment went through, everything looks good, that's where the benefit is, right? If you can run your test and say, hey, nothing has been broken, right? Everything is fine, previous features are fine, I don't know about the new features yet, and you're giving them an okay, that's where the benefit is, right? And so all of this benefit is still good as long as they don't take more than what they can eat, meaning like the list of test cases, right? You don't go and grab 3,000 test cases, but you have only 2 people are writing those test cases, right? You have 20 people in the team, 20 QA engineers, then yeah, sure, 2,000 test cases you can start grabbing because you have a large enough team. So it's always going to be about how many people are in the team. It's always going to be about their skill sets, right? If they're already struggling to write 10 test cases and they're having significant code issues, that means they don't have the right skill sets. Therefore, you can't just jump in and start writing automated tests. You have to take it easy, to step back. You have to tell your manager, step back. We still need a little bit of more education before we go move forward and automate, right? And you may have to do that. You're going to have teams that don't know automation to begin with. And you're going to have teams where they will say, okay, we're just getting started with automation. And that's when probably you can say, okay, wait, let's start slow. Let's start learning a tool that doesn't need coding experience, right? That's when you're going to come up with IDE and you're going to say, let's work with IDE. And if we do feel like IDE is not good enough tool, we can convert our test into Selenium WebDriver. So you do have feature plan. At the same time, you can say like, okay, we're going to start slow. We're going to start easy. We're going to start small and see how much benefit we're getting out of automation. And from there, we can start. From there, we can actually expand. But again, right away, I would say, again, many companies, they may already have automated tests ready to go. For you to go in there and update their existing tests and create new test cases is maybe some responsibilities that you will have. But if they have nothing, then you have the freedom to say, I'm going to choose this, I'm going to choose that, whatever is the case. But if they already have something, never go against it. If they have a tool, because they might have spent so much money, they might have spent so much time with that tool, and you're just going in and say, no, I'm going to use Selenium. I'm going to use Selenium. And they're going to be really, really not happy about that, right? Because these guys probably spent 2 to 3 years, paid some third-party companies, maybe like, 100,000 per year just to maintain those test cases. And now you're going and replacing. So you can't just jump in and replace right away. I would say first job, go with the flow, learn as much as you can, and try to help, and that's it. Don't try to be, don't try to bring changes on your first job just yet. That's what I would recommend. With that said, we talked about 4 different components of Selenium IDE. Selenium IDE being the first one, and we talked about record and run. But this is not simply record and run. If you know Selenium IDE in math, you're going to be able to create powerful tests, and it's going to be as powerful as WebDriver. The only difference is this test is hard to maintain because we are writing each test cases in each class, meaning you have a different page for different test cases. Compared to Selenium WebDriver, we can do page object pattern. We can follow the ops concept, which will allow you to reuse code, right? You write block of code that can be reused and you can reuse it. That's where things becomes more and more maintainable. So IDE is not maintainable because it writes the test separately in a flat file, right? So every test case belongs to a specific page that it creates. And the problem with that is now even if you have duplicate step, it will not reuse them. And therefore, if you want to update your test cases, you have to update all of them, right? So it requires time. So we'll talk about it, but this tool is going to be powerful enough for you to use in a company, as long as you know what the tool's capability is. So today I'm going to show you that. I'm going to show you how to write some test cases. But most importantly for you, don't take my word and say, okay, now this tool we're not going to use as much. Maybe this is just an option. I would say for you to create those test cases as a homework is going to be essential, because this is going to just open up the door for this one. So this has a lot of similarities among 2 and 3 because it's the same exact code. Now, this will give you the idea, and then when you go to WebDriver, it'll make your life so much easier. So you might as well learn it. Don't just say, okay, I'm not going to learn it because we're not going to use it at work. Yes, that's shouldn't be the case. Just make sure that you pay a lot of attention to IDE to begin with. So that way, when you go to WebDriver, it becomes easier, right? So anything that we're going to talk about earlier is going to be, again, help you on the future classes. So just try to pay attention. Okay, so let's go into the Selenium IDE. What is the Okay, so let's go to their official website first, and then we Selenium IDE. Where is it? Selenium HQ, I think. HQ.org. Most likely, I don't know if they changed their website. Okay, there we go. They haven't. Okay, so guys, remember, it's all about going into the source, right? So there are some tools that are out there, automation tools. You might have to just go to the source and learn it. Whenever you have questions, you may have to go there and do some reading, because when you find online help, somebody else is writing it on Stack Overflow or maybe on Google, that answer might not be up to date, meaning that answer is good, but it might be outdated, right? It might not be the updated syntax. So sometime it'll be essential for you to coming in to the actual source, which is selenium.dev, and say, I'm going to read some documentation just to make sure that you understand properly. So as you can see, they're highly marketing Selenium WebDriver, Selenium IDE, and Selenium Grid. There is no Selenium RC because there is no need for that, right? RC is basically used to be WebDriver. They renamed it because there is no longer a need for the RC server, right? So IDE is still, like I said, this is still a significant tool, and Selenium WebDriver is probably right now highly used automation tool out there. And then Selenium Grid is part of the Selenium WebDriver, because Selenium Grid will is a separate tool. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys how to do that at some point, but it's a separate tool that creates hub and nodes, and it gives you a external link to say, okay, go ahead and run the test in a specific nodes, right? So this Selenium will run the test. So again, this will enable you to run your test in parallel, period. That's it. Just think about it. It will enable you to run your test in parallel. It will divide the test equally. You don't have to do all that thinking like, oh, if I have 1000 test case and I'm going to run it on 5 different machines, then I have to divide the 5, and then I have to think about the results. A lot of complexity there, right? Meaning you have to run the test and you have to pull those results, and then you have to put them together, stitch all the results together to have a single report. And you don't have to do all of that because Selenium Grid will take care of everything. Okay. So we'll learn that as well. So today's topic is Selenium IDE. So let's read. The reason even for me, like to come in here and read, is because Selenium IDE has changed significantly since the last time I even thought about this tool, right? The interface, the way it looks is completely changed. Okay, so the capability that it provides also has changed. So these are some for us to look at it. So as you can see, test case reuse. So they did add the reusability there. So maybe they're just making more and more powerful. So through that run command, you can reuse one test case inside of another, but that doesn't give enough maintenance power, right? Just because you can use one test case instead of another, it really doesn't help with our code maintenance, right? Control flow, if and else, that's great, right? Because if you don't have control flow, it's only going to be one ways. If the train left the station and you cannot stop it because of somebody's dying in front of you. That's where the problem is, right? So it used to be Selenium WebDriver used to have no control flow ever, right? If and else would not be a thing in Selenium WebDriver. Sorry, Selenium IDE, because it's just recording for you, right? You can't really stop the train at some point and say, okay, I want to do this first before I want to do the next step, right? So now you're going to be able to do that. And pretty much this tool, I think, powerful enough for you to say, okay, we can, as a team, we can use Selenium IDE, but you can only go to a certain extent, right? At some point, you yourself is going to come back and tell your manager, okay, I think Selenium IDE is good and everything, but we have to move on. We have to do a little bit better, right? We have to make sure that our test is more flexible. And that's when you're gonna have to move on to Selenium IDE. The good news is moving all of your tests to Selenium IDE, sorry, Selenium WebDriver is gonna be very, very easy because it does have a way to export your test cases. So you're not doing a bad choice when it comes about starting Selenium IDE for your company, and then you slowly move forward. So if your manager comes to you and say, hey, we have no automation, do you give me some proposal, come up with ideas and tell me where can we start? Then you can say, well, none of our team members knows automation. That's one of the problem. But the good news is we're going to be able to use this tool called Selenium IDE. I'm going to give everybody training to start with. And then after that, we're going to automate. But at some point, when we get really, really familiar with the test cases, we're going to then use Selenium WebDriver. We're going to need to train for that as well. So I'm going to give them training on that in the meantime. So once we're ready, we can start migrating our test cases from this IDE to WebDriver, right? Now, this is going to be a proposal. Now, everybody that is in your team and don't know automation, they're going to be like cheering for you, like, oh, this is great. This is great. Okay, we can do this. And this gives you two things. One is that you have full control of the whole team at this point, right? Now you're training it. Now you're center of attention. When anybody have any problem, you're kind of reaching out. So at least maybe 10% of the students that learns automation ended up getting a job where they are the first one to bring in automation into the team. And that's when they can actually do this kind of, proposal. Now, this is not so fast, right? Because this is something that I'm telling you right now, but as soon as I go to a WebDriver and we create our first framework, you're going to say, wait a minute, I may just tell them that, okay, let's go with this framework because it's even easier to automate when you just write the code yourself instead of recording. So, all right, with enough said about Selenium IDE, let's talk about how do we add Selenium IDE to our browser. Selenium IDE is a browser plugin, guys, right? So right now we have Chrome download and we have Firefox download. So depending on what you use, you can actually go. So previously they didn't have Chrome. Okay, so I am pretty surprised that they're doing some maintenance to their IDE and making it better and better. WebReady is a simple turnkey solution to quick, and I'm gonna basically go over some of the key points here first before we can even write our first test case, because it is very important for you to know what it is. So quickly and authored reliable end-to-end test case work out of the box for any web application. So it doesn't need any sort of setup or anything, right? As long as you click here and download, that's all you need. That's it. This is their everything is about setup, right? You don't need to think about code or anything at all. Enjoy easier test debugging with rich IDE feature like setting breakpoint and pausing on execution. When you write test cases, these pausing on exceptions and breakpoints is your friend, because you don't know what goes on under the hood. So you have to be able to pause in a specific point to say, okay, what happens after this step? And then you investigate, you find the issue and you fix it. So this is going to be very, very important for you, even for WebDriver, even for any automation tool that you're going to be using moving forward. It doesn't have to be Selenium. It can be anything there is out there. You have to know how to debug, put breakpoint and pause on exception in order to see what really happens before you can fix it. So the fact that this gives you easy debugging solution That's going to be very, very helpful. Cross-browser execution run on browser OS combination in parallel using command. So it also gives the parallel execution using commands. So we have to learn the commands as well if we're going to use this specific tool. Ready use IDE, that means it comes with its own IDE, right? Where you can actually go and interact and be able to make changes as you need it. And the locators, we're going to talk about it also, but Selenium IDE records multiple locators for each element to interacts with. If the locator fails during playback, the other locator will be tried until one is successful. So this is really, really powerful. And I'll tell you why. Because if you have if you have test cases that fails due to locator, it's trying to locate elements and it tries multiple locators. One of them will go through because sometimes we have, I guess right now, nowadays, the modern technology is being used on the application side to make it better, right? Anytime you see an application is really, really good looking and it has a seamless user experience, it may have the latest technologies that they're using like React.js and Angular, Node.js. And so this creates challenging situation for us to automate because now the locators are not as reliable as it should be. So at least this one will try multiple.
I have a
And
question.
Mhm.
What is
Go ahead.
locator?
All right. So we talked about this last class. Let's bring it up. All right. So whenever you want to remember, when you automate something, you tell Selenium to do something for you. In order to tell them, you have to tell them what is that something that you want. So if you want to click on a button, right, you have to say, okay, find something for me, find a button. Then you have to provide a locator. It could be an ID, it could be class, it could be CSS, right? It could be partial link text, right? So you have to give them some sort of address or some sort of identification to say, this is the exact element that I want to click. And then you can say dot click, for example. So in this case, you want to, instead of typing, you want to just go ahead and click on it, right? For example, and this method will go ahead and click on it because that's what it is designed for. But you have to provide a locator. You have to say, okay, this is the location of the element. This is where I want to click. Okay. If you are telling somebody to do something, you have to tell them exactly what it is that you want from them, right? Now, if that is a human being and you give them like, okay, just go bring me something from the room, they might be able to do it. But in terms of machine, if you tell them go go bring something for me from that room, you have to be very specific. It will say, okay, what is that something, right? And that's when we have to provide the locator to say, okay, I want to do this. So let's first go ahead and do the installation and locators and everything. If it doesn't feel clear right now, you're going to learn by end of the class today. Okay, so again, feel free to ask me the same exact question if you don't feel cleared. Okay. Now, some of you guys, if you guys want to follow along, feel free, but don't get lost. I want you to focus on the class and you can probably do this after, since you'll have the recording. If you click on it, it will take you to install that extension. So I already installed it. The only thing I did is I clicked on it and it did automatic install. After that, I clicked on this one. Okay, this is called extensions. Once I click on it, I just pinned it. Okay, you see the pin right there? Once you pin it, it will be here. This is for your Chrome. Anybody is interested in using Mozilla Firefox, then just click on the Firefox and you'll have to do the same exact thing. You know, there's gonna be the same exact way to set this up. This is just a plugin. So if you ever use Chrome and you install a plugin, for example, ad blocker, whatever is the case, then you already know how to do this. Okay. Any question at all? Anybody will have any struggle with this, guys? Okay, good. So nobody's gonna struggle with this. That's great. So let me move on. Once you install and you click on it, it will open up this specific window. it will open up. It will tell you the version. I may have the lower version anyway. I should probably get the highest version. I may just remove this and get the highest version if one of the feature doesn't work. Okay, but for now I'll keep it. So now, once you see this window, it is not browser anymore. Okay, this is a tool that just opened up for you. Okay, the first thing it gives you as an option is that record a new task for your project in a new project. And so basically the first option will allow you to create a project first and then create a test case. The second option, open an existing project, it will basically open, if you already created a test case, if you already created a project, you're going to be able to add more test cases to that specific project by clicking on the second option. The third one is you just want to create a project and that's it. And the fourth one, just closing your Selenium IDE. And then we have a link right here to learn more about Selenium IDE and how to use this. You just click here and it gives you the same exact website that we just came from, right? So it's going to give you documentation. It tells you how to use this tool. It shouldn't be really, really hard, and you don't have to do that initial research on your own. I will show you and you can ask all the questions you want to. So let's do the first option first. And I'm going to say Sunday, whatever project name is Sunday, for example, right? So let's think like we're working for Sunday as a company. Click OK. And then it says we need base URL. So how many people know what base URL means in automation world, right? What is base URL, guys? Guess, any guess though? Guys, try to even guess around because I will not grill you for giving the wrong answer, but I'll be happy if you are interacting, because then it gives me the ability to interact more, right? So now I know that you guys are engaging, therefore I can try to include you more and ask you more questions. And it's only gonna be good, right? Because now you're freeing yourself to be able to communicate, and this is gonna be helpful for you also. So what is base URL?
I'm actually stuck. I'm actually stuck on downloading the Selenium IDE.
Okay, what are you saying?
I am right now. It says remove from the Chrome. It did not download. Yeah.
It probably did. If you see it says remove from Chrome, that means he's already downloaded it. You'll have to click on this and pin it. Okay, so if you find Selenium IDE, just click on this icon.
I'm in still the Chrome page. You want me to share my screen?
Okay, so let's quickly make sure everybody has it. Okay, so hold on, I'm gonna.
I don't know it download or not. I'm trying to find.
Did you? Okay, so do you have that plugin icon on your Chrome? The extension.
I don't think so.
Oh, are you using Windows?
Yes.
Okay, that might be another reason. Okay, so on Windows, I believe it's gonna be clicking on that. Okay, let me see.
Okay, so there is the Chrome download, Firefox download. So I did Chrome download, and when I go there, it says it's there. I mean, it doesn't.
Okay, one second. I'm gonna send you a request real quick. Just accept that.
Yes, can you see my screen?
No, not yet. 1 second. All right. So now, if you, I mean, this is what I was talking about. You see right there, this icon? Is it right there?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So this is what I was showing you, which you need to click on. All right. Even if it's like Windows, then I thought maybe for Windows is different, but it's not, right? It's the same thing. Anybody else struggles, just make sure by end of the class, just let me know, but it shouldn't be, right? It's a plugin that Chrome has, and I think more or less we know how to use a plugin.
So where
Okay, what is the next question?
so where do I go from now on? Just
Okay, so let me continue the class, right? So that way you know exactly what to do next.
sure. I'm
Okay.
gonna stop sharing. Okay.
Okay. All right, let me share my screen. So guys, like I said, if you like to go ahead of everybody, do it on the free time, because if you try to do it during the class and try to go ahead, the only problem is that you're gonna put yourself into more questions, and the question that you may ask is gonna be something that I will cover regardless, right, in the class. But if you did this, everything that we're doing right now, if you did this yesterday, today will be like a happy day. All right, so during the class, like I said, if you try to follow along, only do it if you are capable of. So if you feel like, okay, I can pay attention and I can follow, then do it. Otherwise, just wait for it. You know, you get a recording, you can do it again when you do it on your own time. But it's about, everybody has a different ways of learning. If right now is the right time, then do it. I'll try to be as flexible as I can be, but I think paying attention will be more beneficial at this point. Okay, so with that said, you click on it, you install it. After installation is done, you click on this guy right here, and then you pin it, and that's it. Firefox is going to be the same thing. I think majority of you guys are going to be using Chrome, my guess. So I will not go into Firefox just yet, but if anybody who's going to use Firefox, let me know. I'll show you guys. All right, so now we created a task called Sunday class. Okay, the first thing we want to do is that it says something about base URL. This was my question to you guys, and it's very important that we know some of the terms and lingos about test automation. So the base URL means is that what is the testing URL? What is the URL that you'll be testing, right? Now, base URL, the reason why is it a base URL is because that is going to be the only URL for testing, right? And for a company, you shouldn't be testing every single test case in a different URL. It will never be, right? You're not going to see 10 URLs for 10 different test cases. It's never going to be the case, right? And it's because they're developing everything under the same exact project, right? The website never changes. It's maybe the different test cases for that website. So that's why Selenium Selenium IDE already telling you, give me your base URL, and I will go ahead and start writing test cases under that URL. But it will ask you for that base URL for every single test cases, and I'll tell you also why. So let me close this so we can use the second option. So suppose you just created a project and you left, okay? So you go back and he says, okay, what do you want to do? I'm going to say open an existing project. And now I got to find my Sunday. So notice where it saves. Okay, it saves it somewhere in your computer, guys. Like it's not going to be, okay, I got to find where it is now. Where did it save? I have no idea actually. Oh goodness. Okay, so I'm just going to create a new one, but this time we have to know where it's saved and saving. Okay, so Sunday. Okay, so auto test, for example, right? Click OK. I wonder where it saves the location. All right, so now we're gonna give the base URL. So for example, we're testing a insurance company, and this is a demo insurance company, right? So so it does have demo applications, so keep that in mind. So we're gonna include that. We're gonna click on start recording. That's the next thing. Okay, once you put the base URL, we're gonna click on recording. Once you click on recording, at this point, you see this icon right there. So you have to be very, very careful. If it says Selenium is recording, you shouldn't be clicking everywhere like crazy person, right? You shouldn't be like, you shouldn't go mad with your application. At this point, you want to be careful on your steps. You need to know what is your test case. You need to know what is the next step. You only interact with part of the application that you are required to, because this guy right here is recording everything that you're doing, everything. So it will have unnecessary steps if you are not careful. So let's say we click on get started. That's the careful click one. Once you click on that, we want to create some verification. So once we clicked on it, how do we know if it worked or not, right? So we have to say, okay, maybe if it finds this text, then it will be verified. Okay, so I'm going to highlight the text that I want to verify. I'm going to right click and I'm going to click on Selenium IDE. I'm going to say assert. Okay, and I'm going to say assert the text. Okay, if the text is there, okay, or value. So it depends. Value will be again, we're going to give you another example with value, but sometimes things are text, sometimes things are value. So we have to think about which one to use. Also not. That means you don't want to see this text on the page. You are verifying. So if I say not text, that means it expects not to see the text on that specific application. Therefore, it will fail the test. Okay. So we're expecting to see this text. So we're going to click on text. So we just verified one thing is that after clicking, we're landing on this page and we're seeing this text. The next thing is we're going to click on auto insurance. Okay. Clicked on auto insurance. And then we want to verify these texts also. That's this way it will verify that we are successfully on this page as well. So notice I accidentally clicked again and it did record. So we're going to remove that extra click later. Now we're going to do assert and we're going to say text as well. Notice it has assert, verify, store. We're able to store data if we need to. We're able to use assert and verify. The difference between assert and verify is that assert will fail your tests and discontinue running any other tests after the first failure, and verify will not discontinue your test. It will fail the test and it will move on to the next test and it will run and run and run, right? It is like a soft check, right? Assert is a hard check. It will say, okay, there is an exception. I cannot move forward. And verify will say, well, the test failed, but I'm going to run the next step. All right. So we'll talk about that as well. This is an interview question. So I'm going to go ahead and stop my Selenium at this point. I'm going to go back and I'm going to say stop recording. Okay. After you stop recording, what do you see? You see test case name. So I'm going to say verify user can go. I'm just giving it a name. Go to, let's say, I can say like the verify user can go to auto insurance, right? Insurance page, right? Click OK and done. So this is my test case. I named it, and this is how the code looks like. Notice two verification. We're verifying this code, sorry, this text, and we're verifying this text. So the first thing we want to do is probably run our test, and just to make sure that it is working as expected. Once we finish it, notice like notice like unnecessary clicks. We're going to remove unnecessary clicks for now. So we clicked on H1. Do we need that? No, we don't need it. So I'm going to remove this unnecessary step. We clicked on get started and then we wait for, basically we make sure that this text is found. Okay. Then we clicked on auto insurance and then we're verifying this, but then these 3 extra clicks is not necessary. So I'm going to go ahead and delete those. Any questions so far, guys? Okay. With that said, locators. The question was that, right? So this is your locator right here. Okay. And you see it recorded all of the possible locators that you need for that specific target. Okay. Where you're targeting. So you can choose between these locators. You can say, I want to use this, or I want to use this, or I want to use this, right? So which is really, really good. Okay. Let me just go ahead and run the test real quick and then I'll show you. Okay. This is where it's running. It's supposed to click on get started and it didn't. So we have to fix that situation if that is the case. Set window size didn't happen, right? So this is unnecessary to begin with. Actually, we don't need this. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that. Window size should be as default. So I'm going to stop the test and delete. Okay, so I just deleted that step that we don't need. This is a pretty trimmed and a test case that is more cleaned up. So I'm going to click on that, preparing the test, boom, clicked on it, and it clicked on auto, and it's done. Okay. So notice that it did everything. So running verify user can go to auto insurance page. You opened up, right? You clicked on get started, and it's passed, right? So let's run it one more time to see it. Let me know if it's too fast. I can slow it down. Okay, let's slow it down, guys. Okay, test execution, I'm gonna say slow it down. Significant, okay, maybe 50% slow, so we can see what happens. Okay. Okay, so it did that. Next, it clicked on it, and then it verified that free no obligation code form, and then it went to the secure auto insurance code and request form. At this point, any questions? Everybody's pretty much, good with this up to this much before we move on to the next. Any questions, guys?
No.
Okay, good. Even if you don't have a question, just go ahead and tell me no. It's good to interact, right? Like I said, it will be easier for me to, instead of waiting 5 seconds for any answers right away, I can move on, right? Okay, so now that is the case. We just wrote a effective test case, okay, that can do, that can actually run, and it is pretty reliable. So in this case, this tool literally can be used in a commercial application as long as you're doing the right thing. Okay, as long as you get your test case, you recorded it, and you just did minor tweaks, right? If for some reason, let's say these steps failed, you have to come in here and click and say, okay, what other target they provided? Because remember, Selenium IDE gives you multiple targets. One doesn't work, you have to try the next one. You have to try the next one. So you have to basically, and on top of that, the inner hood, basically under the hood, Selenium IDE will try all of them to begin with. So if this target fails, then it will try this target. All of them point it to the same exact element. Okay. So if we agree to this, anything in this page is an element. So if you try to target this element right here, Selenium will say, okay, I'm gonna basically I'm gonna have 5 or 6 different locators. Okay, I'm gonna have all the locators that I can for this one, and I'm gonna try all of them to make sure it works properly, which makes your Selenium IDE very, very, very powerful, because now you know that your test will not fail because something updated recently. It will continue to try other ways of interacting with this guy. Okay, so it will find a way to interacting with this guy right here. Okay, and that's one of the important thing about Selenium IDE at this point. This is a relatively a new feature that is added, and I think this will make Selenium IDE more and more and more relevant to the team, to the company to use. Okay, so now that you have one test case, let's go ahead and create another one. So again, how do we create test case? You have to know the application, and after that, you create test case based on different criteria. So let's say we verified the first link by clicking on get started. That was the one test case, and we verified that we can go into our insurance all the way. The next one, we're going to click on contact us to make sure that it is doing the right thing. So I'm going to go ahead and record the next test. And okay, so notice is right away started recording under this domain because we already have a base URL. Okay, so base URL is already there, so it knows that whatever opened up, this is where we can at least record. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to verify this text actually shows up on that page. I'm going to say assert, and I'm going to say text, and it will verify this text is there. After that, I want to click on the contact. Once I go to contact, I want to verify that contact information is showing up. Okay, and I'm gonna do right click again, assert text. I want to make sure that main location link is showing up. So let's see if I can. Oh, I just have to right click, IDE, assert, and I'm gonna say link. Okay, value, selected value. Okay. Present. By the way, we have wait for also. We can also say wait for this and that, right? So we can say wait for that one, or even can say visible. So this is where we can say that that has to be visible. So I can say wait for this this is specific element. So not visible. We're gonna say wait for visible or present. Okay. So wait for this guy to be present, and then I'm gonna click on it. Okay. Once I click on it, I want to verify this title, Demo Insurance Agency, and I'm gonna say assert, and I'm gonna say the text. The next thing I want to wait for is second office. I'm gonna say wait for the second office. Okay, to be visible or present, whatever is the case. And then I'm going to click on the second office, and then I'm going to verify second office. So maybe I'm going to verify 123 North. Yeah, 123 North Street to make sure that we're verifying the right thing. Assert text. Okay, so notice we will do a lot of text assertion because that's the more text assertion you do is better on an automation test. Okay. All right. So we recorded this test case. You guys already know what we tried to do here, right? The test case was to, from the main page, contact us, we click on it, we verify these two, right? We clicked on this one first. We made sure that we wait for this. We also verified this. After waiting, we verified the name and number. Second tab, we clicked on it. We also verified this specific text. The reason why I didn't verify second office, the first line, is because these two are same. So it will still find the text, right? Even if it didn't show this one, right? So that's why I don't want Selenium to get confused with two different applications. So I decided to verify the ID, sorry, verify the address. So now let's run the test real quick and see how it is. We're gonna run it in slow. And if it passes, if we do see some issues, then we have to fix. So okay, that's like running the first test that we created, and then it will run the second after that. Okay, I think we did we save the other one? Oh god, I hope. We probably didn't save the other one. We okay. Oh goodness, okay. Oh no, oh god, okay, never mind. What we did is, instead of creating a new test case, we added under the same test. Okay. So that's what happened. Contact us. Okay, let's see if it works. And the main to begin with, it's not going to work, right? The test case is not going to work because we're not into that page. So I'm going to go ahead and delete those steps and create it again from scratch. Okay. And so let's start deleting these steps. And it probably failed. This is keep running, is keep trying, right? It's and I'm going to wait for it to time out. But Selenium IDE has been made a bit more powerful than before. Like this tool actually waits for things to be found and go from there, which is great. So notice, like assert will actually stop the test with the red marking to say, okay, it failed, so I'm going to stop right here at the step. Now, if you use verify, which is exactly the same thing, it would basically would not stop. It will say, okay, I didn't find number 6, but I'm going to go into 7, 8, 9, 10, and it's going to try everything. Okay. So you have to be able to choose between these two and say, which one do I need? It's not like something that I can tell you like, hey, use this. I can tell you the best practices, which is assertion is fine. You don't want to run anything. If the test case fails, it fails. That's it. First, find out what is the problem. But there are situations where you may end up using verify. Okay, because if you're checking multiple items within your page and it includes multiple test cases, then you may want to move forward to the next test case. And that's when you want to use verify. So again, just keep in mind the different tools that Selenium IDE provides at this point. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and remove, because remember what happened, right? That's just remember that the reason why I am going to remove these steps right now is because we decided to record under the same test case instead of building a new test case, right? And that's why this happened, right? Our test case failed. So we're going to go ahead and create new test case after this. I'm going to go ahead and remove that is not part of this main test case, the first test case that we wrote, and then we'll start with the next one. So even down to the action methods, right? When you wrote your test, you can actually switch here too. What do you want to do, right? You can actually switch the commands. You can switch the target. You can look for a specific value. You can even provide description yourself, right? Okay, this step is this and that, right? So that way, when you have a test failure, you can actually see more details. How easy do you guys think this is at this point? That you can do this? Anyone think this is actually a hard tool to use? How many people used a Chrome plugin before? Chrome extension? Nobody here used Chrome extension.
No, I mean, this one is seems pretty easy. This,
Yeah, Chrome extension is basically, I'm sure, like, have you guys never used like ads blocker or something like that? And it gives you like Chrome, right? And also, like, there are other Chrome extension that is really, really helpful if you're surfing web. If you want to do something maybe like to make your life easier, there is a lot of tools that Chrome provides as an extension. You can actually install them instead of you doing those yourself. Even a calculator, for example, you don't want to open anything else. You want to just click on it here and open a calculator. Sure, you can install a Chrome plugin for that. So it will be, if you have never used, then it will be easy, as you can see, as easy as it can be. I'll give you guys a 10 minutes break. And in that break, I'm going to ask you guys to install the tool and maybe write a small test case. So that way, at least I know everybody's up and running and it's good. And if anybody has a problem toward the end, we can go over, we can share screen and see what is the problem. All right, so now this test case, I'm going to run it one more time. You shouldn't fail anymore. I just removed unnecessary stuff. And it should be passing. And once it's passed, then we're going to create a next test case instead, right? So instead of putting it under the same test case, right? So which also gives you an idea, right? If you recorded partially, meaning you recorded half test case, you can complete your rest half, right? And that's a pretty good thing that you can do. All right, so while this is happening, banner, oh, okay, this is for the banner. Okay, we got to remove this also, banner. This is another steps that is deleted. Let's see. Why is it failing right away? Let's see. Clicked on it and done. Okay, that's fine. Simple test case. Leave it as simple as it can be. All right. So now if I choose to continue under this test case, and I can if I want to, but I'm gonna go ahead and save the project. So before, remember last time we didn't even save the project, right? That's where we had this opening. We didn't even know where our test project was saved. So now we know that we haven't even saved it. So I'm gonna click on save. It's saved under my basically, let's see, downloads. So all of your test cases is in here. Selenium IDE has nothing to do with it. So if you can actually, if you delete your Selenium IDE and you reinstall again, your test cases still will be here. All you have to do is export. Okay, all you have to do is open. So you'll be fine. All right, so now that we have one test case, we want to create another one. But before we do that, I wanted to show you guys the way that you are able to export this as a Selenium WebDriver code, right? So let's write one more test just to make sure that we have the hang of this, right? And we probably want to go over some of the things. So let's start recording. Oh, okay. Before I record, I'm going to stop this. This is under the same test case. File. I'm trying to create a new one. Okay, there. Yeah, let's see. New, create new project. New project. Save new project. Okay. Disable pause exception. Okay, that's fine. So these are some things. These are for debugging, and we'll talk about it in a minute. I just want to create a new test case. Hopefully this doesn't use. Okay, so all the test. Okay, so let's go ahead and record because. Okay. I think I know what's happening, but let's see. Pause exception. Okay, record. Okay, so we're at this point and we clicked on record. And remember, we removed all of the steps. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this auto insurance. And we're going to verify this so we can complete the last test actually. Assert and then text. So in this case, like I just want to talk about this specific window that you see while recording, which is Selenium IDE and assert. So let's talk about this. Mouse over. How many people don't know what mouse over is? So think about this way. You go to an application and you go to a link, right? And only after hovering that link, it gives you some other things, right? Only after putting your hands on it, hands on top of it, it gives you other items for you to click on it. So that's when you do mouse over. Mouse over is basically when you go like this, you see, this is mouse over. Here, if I go like and hover, I didn't click on it, it gives me the list, right? So that's when you're gonna do mouse over, okay? So we're gonna do mouse over just to give you an example. Okay, so I'm mousing over about to see these items, okay? And then I'm gonna do mouse over to personal. I'm gonna do mouse over to business to just to see these items. Once these three mouse over is done, the next thing that we want to talk about is the assert. Assert, you can see checked, meaning a checkbox. Checked doesn't mean like anything else is going to be checked. It's gotta be a checkbox. How many people don't know what checkbox is in an application? It's okay, you can tell me. We will show you. Otherwise, we move on. Everybody knows here? Okay, so that's good. Checkbox is basically not the one that is round. It's a radio. Round one is a radio button. But the checkbox is the one that is a square, right? Looks like a square is the checkbox. And checkbox has the ability to check multiple, and radio has the ability to check only one. Okay. Now, if you click on it, it will check if it's checked already. Okay. If it's not checked, it will tell you it's not checked. Excuse me. The next one is editability, right? So if something is there on the page but it's disabled, then it will basically. So if you see editability, I'm going to check editability here. Assert, I'm going to say editability. So now it will check to make sure that this field can be edited. Okay, meaning I can add something. So if I do the same thing for this line, it will tell you that it failed because you cannot edit this. This is just a H1, which is the title, and it doesn't something that we don't have control over, right? We can only edit fields that are humanly possible. It doesn't have to be automation. So just think about this way. Let's go into the next one. Assert, we did editability, checked, and also not checked. What if you want to do not check? What if you want to do edit not editable, right? What if we want to do not present? And similar to that, all of these will have to have some sort of usage that I would expect for you to do this for your test case with this application, okay, later in the day. Then we have store. The reason why we store information is because it's creating a variable, and the reason why we store it is because we want to use this later, okay? So if there is a use case for store, maybe I'll create the next test case and store some value to do later validation, okay? Verify is gonna have the exact same method for assert. The only difference is this verify are soft verification. It will go ahead and continue with your test. If one step fails, it will not complain. Okay, so it will not cry about it. Assert will basically raise the exception and stop the test saying something failed. Both have their own place, both have their own benefits. So you choose which one you need. These are the tools available to you. You have to choose between which one you're going to be using. Then we got the wait for. If you see your test case failing because it doesn't find something, you may want to wait for, because the application may be slow, whatever's the case. You can say wait for something, right? I can say wait for this text to show up, like this text. Okay, so right click and I can say wait for the text to be visible, right? Wait for this text before do anything at all. And as an automation engineer, you want to make sure that before you do anything at all, you want to verify that you are in the right page. So you can always say, wait for this specific text before even doing anything, because that's the way you know for fact that you're on the right page and you're looking for the right element. Okay, so just keep that in mind. That is pretty much it for writing test cases, guys. Like that's how simple that is. There is nothing else that I can show you in terms of how to write test case, but now I'm going to show you the capability of the tool itself and how to run parallel and how to debug and things like that. So there are a lot of topics to talk about, but again, writing test cases, this was it. Once the test case is written, we did many things. You can now come in here and say, okay, I want to change something. So what if basically your test case is already written and the developers change something? So developers change this link name. Instead of auto insurance, they say auto insurance group. All you got to do, click on it and add. Okay, but what if this no longer works? You can click on it and it gives you multiple locators. Okay, it gives you multiple locators for you to use. You can actually choose which one to use. But regardless of that, under the hood, it will try all of them. So actually choosing here is really doesn't change the outcome. So now this is an extra click. You got to see if the click was necessary, you know? So before verifying H1, right, the title of the page, we clicked on it. But what does the clicking doing here? Really nothing, right? Does it have any added benefit? I don't see any benefit, at least to me. So I'll go ahead and get rid of that extra click. After that, we are clicking on the form and we are hovering over one of the link on the top, the navigation link, and then we're clicking on that breadcrumb. After that, we click on the second one, then we click on the third one, and then we clicked on a field, I believe, and that's what we did. After that, we checking editability of the first name field. We also click on H1 again as an example. We don't need that, and then we're good to go. So go ahead and run this for now to make sure that we kind of see what we have done. So click on it. Okay. Let's see. Okay. So it is quite slow, and the reason why is because we're purposely slowing it down. We do have the ability to do that. Now here we may see like fail test because of the hover. So you have to do trial and error, right? You write your test. If something fails, you have to handle it very different way. So in this case, I don't know what is failing. Let me see. So it's trying to look for drop down toggle. Okay, hovering. So it's trying to hover this guy right here. Okay. Oh, it just did it. Let's see. No, I didn't. So we have to fix this line. Okay, we have to fix this line. I'm going to show you guys how to fix it after the test fails. So it is not completely hands-off, even if you think about it. Like record and I'm done. That's it. It will require for you to have some sort of knowledge to say, okay, if this step fell, how can I make it better? So I guess, well, over time you'll gain that, but this will be a good entry to your automation. Okay, so now that this hovering over this drop down fail, I think instead of like hovering over this thing, we can say, I want to hover over the text about, right? That's what I want to change. So I click on it, you see, I'm going to see if there is something that I can use. So it says personal, text is equal to personal. Okay, try to click on personal. Okay, so text is equal to personal will work. You know, this is the first one. Text is equal to about. Let's see, about. This might work. And then for this one, text is equal to navigation is personal. This one should work. And Let's go into the next one. The third one is this. Actually, third one is text is equal to business. Okay. So I'm going to run my test again. Now that I fixed it, saving again the whole project, replace. Okay. Once that is done, I'm going to run it. Okay. Okay, it hovered finally. So now you see like the benefits of the multiple locators. You see the second one hovered, and then the third one hovered, and we're good to go. So our test case should pass all the way as of right now. Maybe the last one it failed because I was also dealing with this, I was kind of like interfering with this execution, but all the test cases steps passed. So you will have to write your test case, see what works and what doesn't work. But most importantly, that's all there is for you to know about writing a test case. Okay, so now let's see if the capability of converting this test into WebDriver test. And we also talk about the debugging. We can create like breakpoints if we need to. We can debug and see where the test will, if there is a test case failure, what can we do about it? So now, before we go into debugging, I just want to see the capability of its export test. So okay, so the thing is, before, when they had this tool, they did have a menu to look for experimental features. So I'm gonna have to go back to their document and read before I can even convert. So IDE test, I'm gonna Google it first, right? IDE test convert to Selenium WebDriver script, for example. Let's see what they come up with, because this probably convert command. Let's see. I should have said Selenium IDE, sometimes its specification is good to have. How do I export test case from Selenium? Okay, that's good. So now you can export either a test suite or test WebDriver by code, right clicking on the test. Okay, that's it. That's all I need to know. So if I right click on here, okay, and what the hell? Okay. Services, and if I do copy, what does it do for me? I have no idea. Let me just paste it here. Let's see. No, that's not the one. Okay, that's not a right answer online. Okay, export choosing the target language. And okay, so typically this feature might have been removed. I don't know, but in the past, we could have just basically choose a language that we want to convert into. So if your company is using Java, we could have converted that into Java and export our test. So let's see if I can at least surface this feature. This is a good feature to have when it comes about taking this test and putting it into your WebDriver. So right click on a test or on a suite, selecting export, choosing your target language. Okay. Let me just go ahead and see. Okay, record test case, click export test case as where? Click file. Okay. So it says click on file. Let's see, file. I don't see that option. Okay, so we just know how to write the test case, but we have to also think about, okay, so let me go to the test at this point, right click. Oh, there we go. Fine. All right, so the guy was right. Make sure that you're not on executing, okay? If you have test suite and test case, so we have to select between these two. So I selected my test case, I right click and I do export, okay? If I click on export, and it will say which language do you want? right? So we already learned Java, and Java is going to be our point of everything, right? This is what we're going to be expert in. So for now, we'll do Java, but you can do Ruby, Python, and other languages also. You can say include original tracing code comment, include step description as separate comment, and export for Selenium grid. So we even for Selenium grid, you can export it. So for now is Java. We're going to leave at least these things. Maybe we want the comment, include step description as a separate comment. So we'll do the comment so that way at least we know what step is what. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and export it. And it says save it somewhere. Okay. I'm going to save it. So now this got saved and I'm going to open up in an actual IDE. We're going to download this IntelliJ IDE later, but it will now show me my own code. Okay. So I'm going to say trust. And I can probably run this if I have JDK. I can actually run it here if I need to. Okay, stay light editing. If I stay in light edit, open project. File is open in light edit. Open in a project. Open in a project is fine. So now you see the code. You see the code that it gives you. Okay. It basically tells you what you're doing each line. Okay. So now once you write the test, you can actually open it, copy this, and now you are good to go to run the test in a script. Your whole test case is done. That's it. You just copy this and you're good to go on Selenium web driver. Just remove this so they will now know you kind of recorded it and running it, right? So now, is it feasible? Is it permissible in a company to do this? Yes, it is feasible. If your team members knows you recording before you can even, if you're recording your test cases rather than just writing it, it is permissible as long as you do the right thing. It is basically okay to even say that to them. But you don't want to shove it on their face to say, oh, I record, I don't do nothing. I just go ahead and record and my test cases gets created and things like that. You don't do that. You just, you just keep it to yourself, because you don't want people to underestimate your, technical abilities. The only thing I'm saying why is it permissible is because this item is reusable. This will be coming from somewhere else. All you need is these steps. These steps you can probably reuse. You're going to use some of the things that are already created for you, right? But not everything you can use in an actual framework, and we will go over those and I can show you later after you guys finish this class and you are up to this much. Then we're going to take this exact test case and we're going to create a framework ourselves. Okay, we're going to basically create from scratch a framework, and we're going to learn to create ourselves. So just know that the IDE tool that we just use, we're going to create our own instead of using that built-in IDE tool. Okay. With that said, we just finished with experimental feature, which is to be able to, let's see what else there is that we can do. We can duplicate, we can export and delete. Okay, that's fine. So export feature, you guys saw it. This was an important one that needed to be seen. The next two feature is basically being able to pause on exception and being able to create a breakpoints. Okay, so let's say line number 14, we're going to add it. Okay, and in line number 14, let's say assert, and I'm going to assert for something, and I'm going to basically like come up with some something that is not even present on the page, so that way it can fail. This is a fail in purpose, right? So I'm looking for text failed, and that's it. If this text is there, fail in purpose maybe. So in this case, this is where it's going to fail, right? So I want to click on this pause on exception. Okay. And then I want to run. So your test will pause when the test fails. So that way you can see before you can, before you can actually move forward. The idea here is that when the test fails, after some time, it closes the browser, right? So you cannot see it, right? Because it just have the exception, it fails. But in this case, at least we're gonna see that Selenium will pause. Okay, so you see it paused in debugger. Okay, so now that you are paused, you can see what's happening here and make some appropriate judgment before you can move forward. Okay, the other thing is that breakpoint. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the pause. You can actually play too, right? So you see resume test, you can click on it, you can fix the step right here. You can actually fix it right here. And then you can say resume, and if your test passes, then you're good to go. Okay, you can even step over this step, line number 15, to say, okay, I don't like this step. And then you can delete the step later, but you can step over to make sure that your test case still running fine. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and remove this line because this is the one that we added to fail in purpose. And then I'm going to say, you know what, as soon as it goes into line number 4, I want to basically create a breakpoint. Okay, so line number 4 has a breakpoint. Look at the thin line blue. Okay, thin blue line has a breakpoint. What does that mean, guys? That means the test will start a step right here, and then you will have the ability to continue. You have the chance to continue, but at least at the line number 4, it will say, okay, do you want me to continue? It will kind of give you a manual, push here to make sure that you're able to okay, didn't stop. Let's see. Let me see, what does the breakpoint? Did I even apply that correctly? Okay, 1 second. Test pass. I'm just looking at the logs to make sure that we didn't do any mistake. Okay. This was the last one. Okay. Where is our breakpoint? Disable breakpoints, and then, okay, so Selenium ID breakpoints. Let's see how to use them to begin with Selenium breakpoints. Guys, remember, for this specific tool, there is no need for me to use this ever. Okay, and this is for, again, for beginners, people that will just getting started. You want to impress your boss, you want to write something, you want to have something up and running. This is the way to go at least have something. It's always good to have something better than having nothing, right? All right, so Selenium ID breakpoints are used to check the code execution. When you use breakpoint in your code, the test execution will stop at all particular line of code where the breakpoint is inserted. So I did insert that. I don't know why it didn't work. So I'll click on it, and I'm gonna go ahead and apply the breakpoint. I don't know if it's applying correctly. Okay, right there. Okay, that thin line is not the. Okay, I'm gonna remove this guy. First, I have to make sure the test finished. Okay, it did. Okay. Okay, let me go back in there. It doesn't even let me do anything anymore. Okay. Okay, so the way that we did this one, stop an exception, the breakpoint is basically the same thing, right? It's just that now, instead of exception, you yourself putting a breakpoint, and you're saying, so let me see if I can add toggle breakpoint right there. Boom. Okay. Okay, that's good. Right there, you see? This icon means you just created a breakpoint at this point. So you want to stop at line number 3, go ahead and run it. And it should stop at line number 3. Okay. Boom. So a lot has changed since the last time. Oh, we probably disabled the background breakpoint. Okay, 1 second. Or it's going to be 2 things. One, breakpoint is not working properly, or the breakpoint was disabled by clicking here. Okay, now it's going to work because previously breakpoint was disabled by clicking on that. Okay, so I'm going to run it one more time once this is done, and then just try it out to make sure the breakpoint actually works. As you can see, it's right there. Number 2, number 3, and stop. Boom, done. Okay, so this is what I wanted to see pass in debugger, and it's breaked, right? So now you can actually resume, just like the previous one. What is the difference between both is that one fails, one's will stop when the test fails, the other one will stop when you specifically put something, right? So this is the 2 ways of debugging your code and make it better. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and step over, resume it, and then let it finish. All right, so let's do Q&A. I don't want to go any further. I want everybody to be a master in this before the next Wednesday class. Okay, there's going to be at least bare minimum 5 test cases you're going to write, and all 5 tests should be passing at the time of the next Wednesday. We're going to basically do those test cases. Keep your test cases to yourself. As soon as we start the class, everybody gets 2 minutes to run their test cases. You don't have to slow it down. You can actually fast, so it shouldn't take more than 2 minutes to run all of your test cases. You're free to use this application. It's called auto insurance code request. So you, again, like you can Google it, auto insurance demo website. The reason why we choose this kind of websites is because you're not affecting somebody else's website, right? Imagine like you go into and try to automate Facebook. At some point, Facebook will come and try to disable you. They might just blacklist you for 5 minutes or so, whatever is the case, is because you're just hitting their servers again and again and again for no reason, right? So it's good to use demo application. So if you are not comfortable with this website and you want to use something else, go for it. But I need 5 test cases from you guys. Each of you guys will have your moment. You get the 2 minutes, you get to share your screen, you get to click on run, it will run, and that's it. I will look into the test. I will make sure that your tests have enough of these items, the wait for validation. So everything that we talked about, if you go into Selenium, let me click on record to show you those stuff. I need you guys to use everything possibly there is, right? Everything possibly there is here. You want to use at least once or twice to make sure that you get really, really familiar with. So commitment to 5 test case, is it fair or is it unfair, guys? I need everybody to here just tell me yes, it's fine, I can do it. And if you can't do it, that's totally fine. You can be honest and tell me.
Yes, I can do it.
Okay. That's just one person. Come on.
I will try. I hope I can do it.
Okay, that's fine. Trying is still good, right?
Same.
So
Yeah,
now,
I will
same.
try to.
thank you. Okay, and Nabil also.
I will
Sides.
try, but I will try.
Okay, good. So everybody's gonna try, but what happens if you fail? Like what happens if you're facing some issues and everything? So now I'm gonna tell you how to be proactive. You're seeing problems, you're not able to meet your 5 test case requirement, and this is a deadline. The deadline is Wednesday before the class, because when the class starts, you're the one who's gonna come in, explain your test for the first minute, and then you're gonna start running. So maybe I'll give you guys 5 minutes each. Either way, whatever time you need, we're gonna get there. Now, if you get stuck, you get problems, whatever, everybody that are here, you guys can probably help each other out. So for some reason, let's say Rakib just says, oh, hey guys, I finished my test. Let me know if you guys need any help. Yeah, post that. Just go ahead and post that on the group and say, hey, I finished my test cases. It was very relatively easy. Let me know if anybody else need help. And now Rakib has the chance to help somebody else, and he can actually jump in on a call for like 10-15 minutes, just go over. So this is absolutely okay to do. But the other thing is, if you feel like, no, I'm not comfortable asking a classmate, and I need to make sure that I can still do this, then you can reach out to me, or you can reach out to Shantabhai. He's also be able to help you with this tool. So either way, you are covered in terms of getting any extra help aside from today's recording. Okay, either way, you'll be fine. The other thing is that I am almost guaranteeing you, in YouTube, somebody probably have a video which is better explaining than me, which is fine. But I went on a very specific way of explaining on how this tool works. And what I gave you is up-to-date information. I went to the source document website, Selenium website and documentation that will always have the updated information. From there, we talked about the feature, and then we explained those features. Okay. The last class that we did, I'm talking about 4 or 5 months ago, Some of this feature wasn't even available then, right? So Selenium is always improving their tool. And who are the people that actually improve these tools, guys? Do we know? Tell me who's the people actually making this better and better and better?
Testers.
Testers,
Yeah.
Developers.
developers, right? So it's everybody around the world, even testers, right? So if you are using this tool and you're having some problem, you can go to Selenium repository in GitHub. Let me open it up. And you can write a complaint and they will try to fix it, right? So let's say Git repository. Okay, so this is the GitHub for Selenium. Okay, Selenium IDE. Here, not only you see like how many people are improving. These are the features that they're improving and they're sending their code. Hey, here's my code. This guy says a hot reload experiment. He is trying to give extra feature. This guy actually wrote the code and to make your IDE better and to say accept my code, right? So once somebody review this code, okay, and say, okay, this is good, everything is good to go, and he reviews it, now that feature is going to come into this tool as long as you have the right version. Okay, so it's not a company that manages, like it's not a company where they said, okay, we have 100 people in our company to basically work on this tool and make it better and better. It's everybody in the world. Tomorrow, if you can write code and you can make it better, you can actually go and contribute to this tool and make it better. And they will say, you can actually contribute. So this is a contributor. This guy actively goes and makes this tool better and better and better. So is everybody else. Now, what if you find issues? What if you find issues when you test? So you as a tester also have ability to make this tool better. You go into the issues and you create a new issue and say in Selenium IDE, I would like this. I would like this feature. You can actually do a feature request here and they will interact with you. They will comment. The developers out there in the world will say it is possible or it is not possible. So this guy says Selenium IDE browser extension for Google Chrome requires manifest upgrade to version 3. Is there a way to handle this, or or there is a plan to upgrade the manifest version? The developer comes in and says, again, this is a contributor. This guy doesn't get paid from Selenium. So now he's a contributor because he previously has done something for Selenium, meaning he wrote this code and he pushed it. So now he was able to write a comment. If I sign up, I can write a comment too and say, hey, this is an absolutely necessary. If you sign up, you can also write a comment and say, okay, this is what we need. So this guy says, I'm not planning on it. My plan is basically to make V4 work for my needs. So my needs, notice my needs right there. That means this guy is using this specific tool for his company. And as he is using this tool, he realizes that there are some things is needed for him, for his project. But except for, I guess, like, instead of being selfish and keeping it to himself, he's pushing the code. He's pushing the code so that way these features are available for remaining the rest of the world. Okay. And this is called open source community. This is how open source community works. You're working on something, the reason why you're improving is because you might need this improvement to begin with. You make the improvement. Now, people like us, we don't speak too much, for example. We don't go and complain about it. We don't go and contribute. We don't go and create an issue. We're still getting the benefit because somebody will face some issues and somebody will go ahead and address those issues, and somebody will then go ahead and implement it. So unlike a company where they have maybe 50 people sitting down and helping each other to fix this, the way that the issue is being found here, I see 398 issues is open that needs to be fixed by Selenium team. Imagine all of these are fixed. This tool is going to get powerful and powerful as time goes by. So this is the power of the open source community. If a company did this, they would not be able to do this much. Trust me, it's not that simple. Somebody who writes a piece of code and send it over just like this requires maybe day and night. This guy changed literally 39 files. He wrote 662 line of code, and he removed 6,772 line of code because maybe it was unnecessary. But anyway, so as you can see, he removed this stuff in order to make it better. So he just basically using this looks like ES6, right? The syntax. So this is JavaScript. Selenium ID is written in JavaScript, by the way. But now all of these things is not necessary because he is able to use something more efficient, right? And he's just going in there and making all this update to make it better and better and better and better. So that's the power of Selenium IDE open source community. And all of the Selenium components are managed by open source developers. And that's why Selenium is such a powerful tool, and Selenium will continue to get better. But there are other tools that became better due to the same abilities, meaning they choose the right technology, but they have open source community just like this. Okay, so Selenium will also probably improve at some point. It will probably try to keep up with everybody else, but for the time being, Selenium still is number one. There are jobs. Majority of the jobs are in Selenium. The other tool that I'm talking about, those, even though they're better, they still brand new to a lot of companies. So this companies don't want to jump in right away. Any question, guys? Let's wrap up. I think I should have given you guys a break, but we wrapped up the whole tool, which is good. This is only going to be a single class for IDE. For a few reasons. IDE is easy to use. And when you go through it, when you write your first 5 test cases, you're going to be fine. So when you write test cases, remember, you have to use your knowledge from the manual side. You have to first write the test case, handwrite the test case separately, pen and paper, write it, and I'm going to and have the intention first. I'm going to click on this. I'm going to then click on community, and then I'm going to verify that this thing shows up. Then I'm going to go ahead and click on code request. I'm going to click on auto code, and I'm going to make sure that this shows up, right? So a test case cannot be a test case unless you verify something, okay? So it has to be always some sort of verification that you're doing. So write 5 test case, okay? After you write the 5 test cases, you want to automate using Selenium IDE, okay? Just break it down, make sure you have the test case written ahead of time so you know exactly where you're heading, not just finding your path while you're on the road is probably not a good idea. So just keep that in mind. With that said, any questions, guys? This class has been helpful. Any feedback?
I have a question because I'm not feeling well today. I didn't get it much, but I will try. And if I
Okay.
couldn't in the next class, please excuse me because I am really having a headache right now.
Okay, that's totally fine. Like I said, the video is available, so if you
Yeah,
get better by tomorrow.
that's why I am saying I will try.
So that's fine. Just yeah, just like I said at the time of the class, I'm gonna give you guys the ability to share your screen for 5 minutes. But if you really weren't able to do because of health reason, that's totally fine.
Because
that's
I
probably
want to
should be
leave
done.
now. I cannot see the screen anymore. Is this
What do you
okay that
mean?
I can leave? Yeah, because
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
No
Thank you.
problem. Yeah. Okay, feel better. Okay, so guys, everybody else, yeah, we're wrapping up the class anyway. So everybody else here, already committed to these 5 test cases. And like I said, you have to do it. If you can, reach out to me, reach out to one of your classmates and get help to make sure that you're able to do this. And I will see you on Wednesday. Any other questions, just feel free. But if you don't have any question, we're gonna go ahead and end the class for the day. All right, keep in mind, this is gonna be the entry to the automation, meaning the next classes is gonna be more and more heavy on coding. The next class is gonna be more, let me just mute and, okay. So the next class is gonna get more hands-on and you're gonna write the code yourself. So it's gonna get really, really, really hard. But these 5 test cases, if you write them, it will give you some idea about what you're about to do. And it might just help you for what's coming, right? What you will be dealing with. And obviously the next classes is going to be hands-on. It's going to get hands-on very soon. So you're going to be writing code while we're writing code here on my side. All right, with that said, we will see you guys on Wednesday, and just feel free to ping me on the group if you have any sort of issues, guys.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.